It has finally happened. The ESPN Band of the Year Battle of the Bands has taken place, and I'm going to talk to you about the good, the bad, some things that went wrong, and some things that went well, I guess. All coming up next on Luke's Band Report. Good evening, afternoon, or whenever you're watching me right now. My name is Jay Luke, the owner and operator of the Passion Is Network and the host of Talk That Talk and a panelist on Blow the Whistle. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Real Talk That Talk or on Instagram at Passion Is Network. You can also pick up any of our merchandise at www.realtalkthattalk.com. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. First things first, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I already know, y'all hear it ringing in the background. So let me tell you what happened really quickly. I took the batteries out with the intent of going to buy new batteries, right? I've been to the store 3 times, have yet to buy batteries, but bought everything else. I don't know, man. I be having a lot on my mind. I don't be writing stuff down when I go to the store. So my bad. Y'all gonna have to deal with it again on this particular time, but you'll be all right. Anyway, so the Band of the Year, Battle of the Bands has gone down. It is over. We have seen it. They have announced the winners. Congratulations to Division 1 FMU and, Division 1 A&T and Division 2 FMU. I'm really glad that you got that money. Use that money to your heart's delight and in whatever way that band needs that money. So I do want to go ahead and say that starting off, right? So let's talk about some of the good that happened, right? So first things first, national exposure. We can't turn that down, right? I mean, let's be real. It was very good that, we were able to be put into a national light, and it's been a very long time. I mean, if you remember correctly, if you think about it, the last time that we as HBCUs were in that particular light was back when we were doing BET and stuff like that. So I mean, let's keep it real. I mean, it's really good that it did happen. So I'm really gonna just go ahead and give you guys just the kudos for that. Also, man, kudos for all 4 bands for showing up and just putting on really good performances. I'm not even going to say anything negative about that. There's nothing to say negative about that. That's another good thing, right? Bands did show up, bands did perform, and they did well. I think all 4 bands did a really good job. And so because of that, those are the things to me that I really felt that went right. 1, the bands actually showed up. 2, they all 4 put on great performances, and 3, we got national exposure on ESPN. A lot of people was watching on ESPN Plus, so congratulations. I don't know, was it on ESPNU? I don't know. You all tell me. I know it was on ESPN Plus though. So that's actually the good stuff that I can really talk about. Because there are some things that I feel like we probably missed and dropped the ball on. And so we're going to get into that next. But before I do that, how did you guys feel about the National Battle of the Bands, or not National Battle of the Bands? I apologize. The ESPN Band of the Year Battle of the Bands. Do you all feel like it went off well? Did you all enjoy the performances? Do you think that A&T should have gotten that first position spot? Do you think Florida Memorial should have gotten that spot? Did you enjoy all 4 performances, or maybe just some? You guys tell me inside of the comment section. So now let's get to some of the things that I feel like should have been done better. So the first things first, I watched the press conference, and actually I was supposed to be at the press conference, but I had an option. On Thursday was my daughter's first ever band performance, and I could not miss that. And then this Saturday was my youngest daughter's birthday, so I wasn't going to miss that either. So unfortunately, I ended up not going. I had my passes and all that stuff ready to go, but then I ended up just not going. But my point was to get to the press conference, and I watched that press conference from beginning to end. And while I can say that some really good things were said in that press conference, I will also say some things disturbed me about that press conference. Somebody asked about the auxiliary. Well, I'm not going to get into that. Maybe we'll talk about that on Blow the Whistle. But what I will say is something that was said that was really interesting. And what was said was there has never been a battle of the bands in this caliber that has been judged. I'm actually going to debunk that by telling you that it actually was the Battle of El Dorado, or the Battle in El Dorado, or of El Dorado, whatever it was called. That's what it was. Now, a lot of people didn't know about it, and a lot of people didn't hear about it because it was just kind of, I would definitely say, poorly promoted, but it did happen. Where did it happen? In El Paso, Texas. Who was there? Prairie View, from what I remember. I think it was Mississippi Valley. It was some other folks that was there. But that was an adjudicated performance that actually did happen, that was for HBCUs. And that, from what I know, was the first one that ever took place. This, from my recollection, would actually be the second one. The Battle of El Dorado is actually up on YouTube. You can go watch it. And the only reason why I know about it is because I was at PV at the time when it happened. We drove down to El Paso, and it's actually a lot of stuff that went on with it. And I'm going to get into that in a few seconds. But we drove down to El Paso. We did a performance, I think the day before. I think the Drumlines did a performance. We did a performance the day before, I think in the streets of El Paso, down in some market area. And then the next day we performed on the field, and PV won. But nevertheless, it actually did happen, and it actually did go down. So that was the first thing that I wanted to, address. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. But the second thing was, he said that he did not want to call it a battle of the bands. He wanted to call it a competition. I earnestly disagree. I think it is a battle of the bands, right? Because the bands are battling for a first place spot. I think that, and I've said this before, I think that what we do on a normal basis should be called an exhibition instead of Battle of the Bands, because the bands really aren't battling for anything. There is no winner that comes out on top. So that's the other area that I just kind of have to disagree with, is in the fact that just the name of saying it's not a Battle of the Bands is a competition. I think bands, if you look at any Battle of the Bands outside of HBCUs, Battle of the Bands are typically judged, and Battle of the Bands are typically come out as a winner. Even when you're talking about rock groups, when rock groups have Battle of the Bands, there's always one winner at the end of the Battle of the Bands. So I think that we probably need to keep the idea or the concept of Battle of the Bands, just being real. But here's where I really got a better understanding for what this battle was and how we shoot our own selves in the foot with self-sabotage. Very similar to what happened with the Battle of El Dorado, we reached out to a lot of historically black colleges and universities to be able to participate. What I ended up finding out by listening to this press conference, and what I took from it, was that they reached out to a lot of historically black colleges and universities as well, and tried to convince them to participate in this particular battle. What ended up happening is probably more than likely very similar to what happened at the Battle of El Dorado. A lot of people decided they didn't want to participate in it. Why? Because they did not want to be judged. This is where we shoot ourselves in the foot every single time. I'm going to 50% to 80% feel and or stand on, 9 times out of 10, the people who were there were the people who were ready and willing to be judged and put into that category to be judged. The reason why I say this is because at the end of the day, we wear too many of our egos on our shoulders. It's literally the same thing that happened at the Battle of El Dorado, and hence the reason why I think it was only 4 bands there. We've got to get out of this ego of only wanting to be judged by the masses. Because because we have a group of fans that like what we do, and we don't want to lose the top spot based on what somebody else thinks. Or I ain't gonna say that. We don't want to lose the top spot based on the fact that we're being judged and critiqued. At the end of the day, everybody can lose. And at the end of the day, sometimes your stuff stinks. And it's okay to be able to put yourself in an arena to be judged. You listen to me. I'm gonna say it right here. I don't care what band you are. You ain't that good. Okay? And what I mean by that is you're not that good to the point to where you don't deserve or you feel like you're above being judged. There's nothing wrong with that. Judgment is what makes us better. Think about it. Educators, right? We're evaluated. Evaluation is a judgment. And based on that evaluation, it tells us where we need to get better and where we need to improve. What is the issue? Get out of the ego. It only will make you better and stronger. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Again, I think all four bands did a great job. And I cannot stand the argument of people being like, well, this particular style is different from this particular style and all that. No. Good is good. And this is another thing that was said at the press conference that I absolutely agree with. Good is good and bad is bad. Point blank, period. A concert F is a concert F. It don't matter in what style that concert F comes out. A concert F is a concert F. Good is good and bad is bad. We got to get out of that. We shoot our own selves in the foot because of that. And here's the other half of that, right? The other half of that is because of the fact that we put our egos on the line or we put our egos above everything else and we choose not to support situations where we can be judged, then people don't show up. I'm going to be honest in saying this. I really doubt that ESPN is going to take a chance on HBCUs again. I wasn't there, but I saw pictures, multiple pictures from inside of that dome. And I will also be honest in the fact that I also kind of called it, as well as all of us that blow the whistle, right? But here's the other thing. Why would you schedule something like this on the same date as a very big concert, the 50-year hip hop concert? Like that is just poor planning or poor promoting or something. That just is not smart. I mean, and maybe, just maybe, because I don't know the inner workings, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I know the inner workings, right? But maybe, just maybe, it was already planned and then the concert came after. Now, that does happen. Those things do happen, and you can't be prepared for that. That, you know, especially since they were trying to promote this around the Celebration Bowl, which absolutely makes sense. If you planned it before and then the concert came after, there's kind of nothing you could do about that. So that part I get. But if it was before, but if you knew about the concert and you still ran with it, that was just poor planning. That just was not good. But I say all that to say, guys, we've got to do better as HBCUs, as people. Listen, we are not above being judged. We ain't that good. It's just like, you ain't that cute. You look dusty. Your hair's uneven. Listen, you're not that good to the point to where you can't be judged, man. Come on. We've got to do better. And again, go look up the Battle of El Dorado. Again, yes, it did happen. Yes, it was adjudicated. And we had issues with that. There were some issues going on with that too, as far as judging, because, and then we get into that battle. Well, who's judging? Blah, 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 blah. Who's doing, I think my thing is, and we got a lot of arguments too, as far as the judging that led up to the battle itself, which to me was a fair judgment, right? And the reason why I say that is because a lot of things we just didn't know about. Every time they mentioned anything about judges, they only always mentioned two judges. It was Dow Taylor and I think it was Julian White. I could be wrong. I think so, though. But they only ever mentioned those two. So the only strength of judging that we knew about was them. But apparently it was 12 judges the night of. Who they were, we don't know. And were these same just 12 judges the same 12 judges throughout the whole process? Like that within itself does create a thought process of doubt, right? Because we don't know who they are. If anytime I did a step show, shout out A5A, shout out KK Phi Mi Alpha, I can go back to high school. But anyway, anytime I did a step show, they announced who the judges were as they were judging us and announced what organization they were a part of. If I go do a adjudicated competition with my high school, they're going to announce who every single judge is. Heck, if you do drum corps, they announce who the judges are and what part of the caption they're judging. Oh my gosh, my phone is going. I was not ready for that. Okay. Anyway, but my point is, at the end of the day, it just seemed really, really, what's the word I want to say? It seemed really, it just didn't seem right. Let's just put it that way. I can't think of the name that I was trying to use right now, or the word that I was trying to use, but it just didn't seem right. It made us all feel uncomfortable. And so we've got to do better with getting the information out there, being open and honest about how we're doing the judging and so on and so forth. So again, that's where I feel like we really shot ourselves in the foot. And I mean, it is what it is. Now, moving on to the last topic, where can we be better? How can this be better? What things can we put in place to ensure that things like this don't happen again? Again, I really don't think that ESPN is going to give us another shot. I just don't. I really don't. But if they do, hey, congratulations. Let's do it. But if they do, let's talk about some of the things that we all could do better. First off, it doesn't need to seem like it's a exploitation of HBCU band programs. What do I mean by that? When I watched it, I'm gonna be quite honest. You can't get a bunch of football and basketball people to be commentating marching bands. That's not cool. It seems very disingenuous of the organization itself that you didn't even take the chance or opportunity or even ask to call people in to commentate on any of the information or anything that was going on. You got people talking about how shiny the tuba bells are, the sousaphone bells are. Come on, man. Yeah. So that, for one, can be better. You can't drop the ball on that. Second thing, we as a people and as a culture got to support. And I'm talking about from the bands down, meaning get your ego out the way. And if somebody calls and be like, yo, let's put on a battle of the bands where you're going to be adjudicated, then step up to the plate and say yes. I'm going to always go with this. If you think your band that good, put your money where your mouth is. Period. I mean, let's keep it a buck. If you're as good as you say you are, don't talk about it, be about it. That was one of the things that I appreciated from Dr. Sanford, specifically during the time when I was coming up. And I mean, honestly, there wasn't a lot of social media and all that kind of stuff when I was coming through the band, but still, the only thing that we had during that time was Fifth Quarter. And I mean like fifthquarter.com. Shout out Christy Walker. That was the only thing that we had at the time. And Doc would always say, don't go out there, don't go on there talking a bunch of enough. You tell them to meet you on the gridiron. That's where it goes down at. So I'm gonna say the same thing. If you as good as you say you are, if you the number one spot, or if you think you the number one spot, step up to the plate. Period. We have got to support our own. We can't say that we're for the culture and then we have the opportunity to really truly show what the culture is and support it, and then we don't support it. And then here's the funniest thing. Here's the funniest thing out of all of this, right? They putting up bread, $100,000, $75,000, right? On the line. You putting up the bread to make it happen. The only thing that you're putting on the line is the fact that you're getting judged. But here's the hypocrisy. You deny that, but then you will go to another battle of the bands where they ain't paying you for real. They give you a $20,000, barely pay for your travel, and then you go and do that, and when you get back, you complain about everything that happened. Man, this little measly money ain't gonna do nothing for us. How does that make sense? So let's not be hypocrites. We have the this was handed to us right here, and again, no different than the Battle of El Dorado. Go check it out on YouTube. All right. And then again, here we go. Understanding the market. And that really goes back to what I kind of said earlier. But guys, so apparently there was a fifth quarter that happened after the battle went down. And then when that fifth quarter was going down, it was mostly between A&T and Jackson. And then they tried to kick everybody out. That's part of what this culture is. And I'm going to be honest. Don't get me wrong. I'm a DJ. I mean, if you give me opportunity to spin and to make my bread, I'm going to spin. But this is the problem that we're having at HBCU games. Why would you bring... I don't understand why we do this. Why do we keep bringing DJs to these events? Heck, I don't even know why we bring DJs to HBCU games. But again, why bring a DJ to this event? Now I understand to some degree. When we do National Battle of Bands, there's a DJ there, right? But even in the middle of that, they let the bands play. Now, here's my thought process on this. Hear me out. I don't think there should be a DJ at all. Why? Because the bands are the soundtrack of the night. Why do I need a DJ when I have, in this particular situation, I have 4 bands here, right? In other situations, you have 8 or more. Why do I need a DJ when I got all this music in the room? And don't get me wrong, if I'm not mistaken, it was JD who was spinning. I think it was. Shout out to him. Again, as a DJ, make your bread. But we've got to do better. Know the culture. If you're going to do this, know the culture. The fifth quarter battle is part of the culture. Listen, I am one who will always advocate for halftime. By far, I will advocate for halftime. But I'm also aware of that stands battle is part of what we do. And personally, if you really want to get personal, that probably should have been part of the judging too. Just saying, it's what we do. So if that's the case, incorporate what we do. Don't throw a DJ in there thinking that the DJ is going to be the reason or the rationale to try to get people out of their seats. People came to hear the band. Now, if you do a DJ, fine, do a DJ, but let the bands crank up for about 2 or 3 songs when the other bands are getting set. And then if you have an intermission or something like that, while all the bands are resting, do an intermission while all bands are resting, getting their face right, so on and so forth. Throw a DJ in there. I mean, come on. As a DJ, I've done this too many times before. You already know you're going to do an old school, new school battle. Do one of those. That thing takes about 10 to 15 minutes just to go through old school, new school. And then after that, everybody's done and you can crank it back up. Come on, man. There's so many opportunities right here that we miss out on. So know the culture. Know the culture. Know the culture. All in all, I think, again, after listening to the press conference, I really think it was a really good idea. I think a lot of things happened behind the scenes that was done poorly. Congratulations and kudos to, all 4 bands that performed. I think every single band did well. But again, I don't know if ESPN is going to give us an opportunity to do this again. Not by them numbers that I saw in there. That just wasn't what was up. So I don't know. You guys tell me, what do you all think? Do you all think it came out well? Did you all enjoy it? Tell me what you thought. Do you think, I'm right on some of these things? Do you think I'm wrong? Hey, again, I tell you guys all the time, I read every single one of your comments. And honestly, I really didn't even plan on shooting the show today, but guess what? I wanted to go ahead and do it because, hey, this is something that was on Luke's heart, and I wanted to get it out of Luke's heart and put it out there to the people, man. So again, man, y'all tell me what you guys think in the comment section. Let's talk about it. Let's go back and forth. Let's discuss it. And other than that, man, this has been super great. I appreciate you guys for watching me. Go ahead and share this out. Send it to your friends or your cousins or your cousins. Share it, like it, subscribe. Remember, subscribe to the Passionate Network, turn on all your notifications. I appreciate you checking in with me, and we will see you guys probably next week. It's a holiday, man. Enjoy your holiday.